we have to rebalance the water cycle. Uh, the World Water Day, 22nd March 2021, is about the theme of this World Water is about what water means to people, its true value, and how we can better protect this vital resource. So now I would like to go to Professor Maheshwari and requesting him to put more light on this topic and also share your vast experience related to groundwater management with the audience. Over to Professor Maheshwari, sir.
Thank you. I'll just put my slides on.
Yes, sir. Please share.
So we started thinking about productivity. So every liter of water, how much more we can get. That's the productivity. And that was from 1970 to 1990s. So our effort went into how do we produce more for a given volume of water. And so better crop varieties, better method of irrigation, and like that. So we produce more. Then came so that also has a limit, how much more you can get, because then there's a limit. So we have been now talking about sustainability. Can we sustain the use? So we've gone through the productivity. Now the question is sustainability. So can we keep using this for a long time? And that also is becoming now difficult. Means we reached the limit also, sustainability. And we are now talking about security, water security. So water security means we are thinking about, will we have water for next year, 10 years time, or this summer, like that. So like food security, so water security. And so the challenge of groundwater is it's an invisible resource. And when something is invisible, it's hard to communicate. So if you can't see it, very hard to say what it is and how much it is and like that. So groundwater is like that. And this is one of the challenges with groundwater science and management. So science means how the groundwater will flow, how much water is available, and how long it will last. And the managing means how much can we pump out and how can we maintain the balance between groundwater recharge and groundwater pumping. So recharge means putting water back into groundwater system. So groundwater system is it's called aquifer, and we store water in the aquifer. So managing aquifer, the recharge and pumping. And as I mentioned before, groundwater is a common pool resource, means it belongs to everyone. So it belongs to everyone means everyone wants it. But the problem is no one wants to take the responsibility. So there is a bit of grade there. And when that happens, what is called the tragedy of commons means uh, the whole resource becomes uh, unmanageable, unsustainable, and no one cares. And that's what is happening with groundwater. So we are pumping more water as far as we can go. Put the bigger pump, put a drill the deeper well, and that is causing problem because when you pump more and as you go deeper, the quality of groundwater can change. So we have some water has got more fluoride. So in Rajasthan or in some other states, fluoride is a problem. So it affects your teeth, it affects bones, joints, and then some places you have problem of too much arsenic. So if you go to West Bengal, Bangladesh, there is a problem of arsenic, too much arsenic, and also arsenic also interferes with body function. So the especially bones and some other things. And if you go to some other place, there's the problem of too much uranium in groundwater, and it's causing cancer. So this is because we go deeper and expose the aquifer material and mobilize some of these heavy metals. So it's becoming a very serious problem. Now, if we go back, many of you probably can't recognize these water lifting devices, but long time ago, 30, 40 years ago, this is how farmers used to pump their water, lift their water from it. So this on this slide on the left, photo on the left is called Rahat or Persian wool used to be like this is what they used to do for pumping water out from a well. The other one is charas, is a bucket and pulled by a pair of bullocks. So this is what they used to do. Farmers used to do, and so they will do this whole day. But now, after that, came the pumps and drilling machines. So what they used to do for say 7 8 hours, the pumps are able to pump out that amount of water within an hour or 2 hours. So what happened? So we started pumping more water out of the aquifer, and there is a limit on how much groundwater is available in anywhere you go, whether it's you're in Mumbai or in another village or whatever. There is a limit because groundwater is stored in the fractures of the rock or alluvial material, so the pores in the alluvial material, and that's the amount of groundwater available. So there's a limit how much is stored. It's like a bank. You have an account, and there's a amount you have deposited, like groundwater recharge, and you take out the money through ATM or through the teller in the bank. And similarly, you're taking out water through pumping. So there is a limit how much you can pump out because one day your money in the bank will finish if you use too much and not the right amount of money coming in through salary or anything. Same with the groundwater. And then on the left, you have this drilling machine. So earlier, with the digging of open wells, you could go from 10 meters to 20, 30 meters, maybe 40, but that would be the limit. But with these drilling machines, you can go up to 500 meters or even more. And so there is no limit really how deep you can go, and you can sometimes pump out water which may be 500-year old, very, very old water. And when you do that, you're really driving the groundwater table down and you are really mining fossil water, very old water. And this is what has happened. So the challenge of groundwater is on the left side, we have these are the needs, our needs. So we need water for drinking, we need water for industries, we need water for environment. So water environment means for grow, making the trees grow because trees also use groundwater. Their root system go deep and they maintain the environment. We need water in a river or creek so that there is a flow of water and maintain the health of the river. And the main user of water is agriculture. So in India, we rely on 60% of water is for agriculture, and 80% of drinking water comes from groundwater, or even more. So groundwater plays very important role. And so on the other side, we have the recharge. So ideally, our annual recharge should be more than what we use, but it is happening in the reverse order. So we use more and recharge less. The recharge happening is less than what we use. So what is this leading to? Eventually groundwater going deeper, and we are pumping groundwater from larger depths. And that also means we spend more energy, whether it's electrical energy or diesel pump. So we putting more energy to pump that water out. So it's not very good scenario. We're driving the groundwater deeper. We're using more energy for per cubic meter of water, and so everything becoming unsustainable. What we would like to do is the balance between the how much is needed and how much is recharged. Or even better, recharge is more than what is used. So if we can do this, then we are sustaining the groundwater use for a long, long time. So water problem is much more complex. If you go back 50, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, we had plenty of water. So these issues of sustainability were not very sort of serious. But now we think water is not just a physical resource. No, it is not just a water. It has got many other dimensions. And the technical solution is not going to be enough to sustain groundwater. So the water is as a resource is for livelihood. So people's income depends on this, fulfilling human needs, livability of cities and villages. So any city depends on availability of water. So if it is a drought, you can't grow plants, the parks will not be healthy, and many other functions of the city will be uh, difficult to maintain. So, so if so, water is not just a physical resource anymore, but it's a much more than this. And so we need different type of solution from what we used to have, building dams and canals and putting a pump, and our problem is solved. But now we need something else, something more. So this is a groundwater is an elephant, you can say. Uh, and so if you look at this elephant, so it's a story of 6 blind men. And if you ask each man, okay, go around, they can't see what is there, but they touch the elephant and say, what do you feel? What is it? And someone will say, when they touch, this is a wall, or this is a sphere, or stick, or something this. And same thing with groundwater. So no one is really giving the total attention, full attention to groundwater. So if you ask the government, they will say, I can regulate and make policies. So that's what they know, and that's what they can do. And some hydrogeologists like us, we will say, I can tell you where the water is. So that's what we know. And if you tell to a researcher, they'll say exactly, I can find out exactly what is happening. And same with the bank or financier, I can give you a loan and you go and drill deeper. And then you go to a farmer and they ask you, uh, they will say, I need as much water as possible. So, and I want to pump more water. And driller, I can drill for you deeper. So everyone has got their own small interest, but they're not looking at the big picture of groundwater. And that's why groundwater is becoming scarce, or the elephant is becoming extinct. So it just gives an idea that we need to think together. So government, hydrogeologist, researcher, the bank, or farmer, or driller, they need to come together to save the elephant, save the groundwater. So what are the options for groundwater sustainability? So one would say improve the irrigation efficiency. Means try to apply water in a way that you produce more crop out of per unit of water. Someone will say change the crop that requires less water. And someone will say recharge more so you have more groundwater available. And these are very good suggestions and these are being used. But will these three things uh, help us achieve groundwater sustainability? Not necessarily. More groundwater in aquifer means farmers and other users can pump out more water until the aquifer is exhausted. And this is what is happening. And so we need to engage and help the farmers and other users. They take the responsibility of problem and solutions. So having more groundwater in the aquifer or saving groundwater doesn't mean we will be sustainable. But what we need is taking control of the management of groundwater, giving the ownership of the problem and ownership of the solution to the user. Once that happens, then we have a chance to succeed. So this is what we did in a project called MARVI. Dr. Daniel mentioned to you. So MARVI means managing aquifer recharge and sustaining groundwater use through village level intervention. So what are the highlights emerged out of this work? So this work started about 9 years ago. And what we found was groundwater scarcity is people-related problem. And it's due to the greed, lack of understanding, and this is being invisible resource. And to succeed this sort of problem, the solution need to start with people, not the technology. And we need to engage and empower people, farmers or villagers or city people. And we need to develop robust village level groundwater science. So science, groundwater science that people can understand, they can use, and they can manage groundwater. That's what is required. And need to engage people at all levels. So farmers, community, school, government agencies, even politicians, we need to engage all of them. Then I think we can manage this groundwater elephant. Means at the moment, everyone is working in their own silo or in their own small area. So government is doing something, the researchers are doing something, some NGOs are doing something, but we need to bring them all together to work for a common cause. And we also found that the level of formal education is not a barrier to learn about groundwater science. So even if you are, say, primary school pass, but you have life experience, you worked on the farm or worked with the groundwater or so on, you can understand. You can make use of groundwater science. And we have to develop that science that people can understand and can use and make the management better. So this project, MARVI, has 9 organizations. Western Sydney University from Australia was the lead, along with several NGOs, universities, and research organizations. And there were 30 researchers. And another special thing was 35 farmer researchers. And we called them BJs, Bujal Jankars. And this project has been running for last 9 years. So what were the key activities in MARVI project? Participatory data collection. So we were working with the village people, farmers, to help them collect groundwater data, rainfall data, water quality data, and then sharing this information and building understanding. So analyzing data. So again, working with farmers, helping them to build understanding, and then engage with policy makers, government agencies, groundwater users, and other stakeholders. So we brought those people together with the data, with the farmers. So where was this study done? So in Udaipur district in Rajasthan and Aravalli district in Gujarat. So Aravalli is one of the new districts in Gujarat. And these two watersheds, one is called Dharta watershed, the other one is Megrez watershed. So both are about 5,000 hectare in area, and both are in hard rock aquifers. So you can broadly classify aquifers. Or aquifer is a underground material with rocks or soil or whatever is called aquifer. So it's a both are hard rock areas, but in other areas like in UP, Bihar, it could be alluvial aquifer. Whereas in most of Maharashtra, it's a hard rock aquifer. So we were working hard rock aquifers. So the MARVI approach. So generally, you have scientists or groundwater science, then you have government, policy, regulation, governance. So they are good at that, and the community. And so the scientists work with the government, and sometimes they work with community, but not much. And this community is the NGO, so they really don't connect that much, or sometimes they are small, sometimes big, but still there is no real connection. But what we have tried to do in this project is bring all of them together. So the government, the community, the science together to address the complexity of groundwater management. So who were the main players or actors in MARVI? So we had these Bhujal Jankars, or they are popularly known as BJs. Then researchers like us. And we had these schools and village communities. And then we worked with Gram Panchayat, state and central governments. So these are all the stakeholders, actors in this project. So MARVI means local management of groundwater, improved livelihood and groundwater sustainability. So we did three things. One is aquifer recharge, understand the recharge dynamics with rainfall and pumping. So the farmers collected a lot of data. We also put our groundwater sensors in some of the wells because we were not sure these farmers are capable of doing data collection. And effective planning and design of recharge structures, all those things. And the other aspect is groundwater use. So how can we reduce the use of groundwater by better agronomic practices, selecting proper crops, better irrigation methods. And the third element, which was very important, is the engagement with village communities and giving them ownership. So involve farmers, schools to monitor rainfall, water levels, and check dams and wells. And the ultimate aim is to form village groundwater cooperatives. So these Bhujal Jankars, they are the engaged local volunteers. So we had 10 in Gujarat and 25 in Rajasthan. And so we gave them basic training in hydrogeology, mapping, water table monitoring, water quality monitoring. So imagine they didn't go to university, these people. They were probably class 5 pass or maximum class 10. But they have been in the farm or in other works for 10 to 15 years. So they had life experience. And so we gave them training in 7 modules over a number of months. And when we started this, they didn't know what they are doing. They thought, okay, let's do something because we engaged them. And so when we had our first meeting in one of the villages in Rajasthan, So it was in one of the schools in the Hinta village, and there were about 120 to 150 villagers from 5 villages we had came there, and we said this is a project funded by Australian government, and we want to help you to work here, work, and we will help you to improve your groundwater situation. And couple of people stood up and said, we welcome you, but really we don't need your research here. So we were really taken aback. What do you mean? And we, they said, we know the solution. Research is not required. All you need to do is whatever money you have, funds you have, you just give to us, and we will drill deeper, and we can get water, groundwater, because we know as you go deeper, there's more groundwater. And we said, look, we can't do this because we have a contract with the funding body, and but we want to work with you. So they eventually agreed. They said, okay, we will cooperate with you. Tell us what to do. So we started recruiting these BJs, and when they started these BJs, so their role is to every Sunday, each BJ will monitor 10 wells. So we had 5 villages in Rajasthan, 6 in Gujarat, and in each BJ, each village there are 5 BJs. So each BJ is monitoring 10 wells. So we had 250 wells monitored every week, and similarly 110 wells monitored in Gujarat every week. And so all they are doing is with a very simple instrument. It's a measuring tape and a wooden float. So it's a chakla, you make roti. So that chakla with the hook in the middle and attached to the tape, and they just lower the tape and measure the groundwater depth. So very simple, and they had a bag and this measuring tape and so on. And every morning, 9 o'clock or like that, they will go to different wells, and some of the well owners will ask them, what are you doing? And they will say, this is some project we are doing from people with in Australia, and we are monitoring groundwater and so on. And they just move on. And slowly after 3-4 months, the same well owners who were asking, what are you doing? They started asking, what was my water level last week or last month? They started this. And then slowly they started seeing the fluctuation, how the groundwater is from what was water level in June before monsoon, and how it changed in September, October. And so they started sort of seeing something in the data form. They were also monitoring rainfall. And so conversation changed from we don't need this research to there is not unlimited groundwater. Some farmers, even these BJs, started explaining to other farmers, look, this is my mobile phone, and if I don't recharge and don't use this phone properly, my battery will run out and my mobile phone won't be operable. So the whole idea of the whole understanding started changing, more dialogue, more this thing. Also, for example, by measuring rainfall, they started sort of saying, oh, we had so many millimeters of rainfall. Earlier, if you ask them to the farmer how much was the rain, they will say very good rain or not much rain, or there was enough rain that water flew on the surface. But now, after 6-8 months, they started talking in millimeters. So this whole groundwater literacy, the water literacy started. So this is the change happened in people. And so what did we really do in the MARVI project? So we trained these BJs and worked with them on ongoing basis. So we just didn't say train and okay, go and monitor and send the data and we'll see you in 3 months time. No, we were in contact with weekly basis or even more frequently and collected groundwater depth. These farmers, these BGs collected groundwater depth. They started measuring rainfall, water quality in terms of pH, EC. So we supplied them these EC meters, pH meters. They measured, checked them water level. We also collected some socioeconomic data. So we want to understand their groundwater attitudes and their understanding of their social issues and so on. And we worked with local schools, community groups. So we just didn't collect data, but really we part of the community as researchers. And so we had the citizen scientists in the villages and work with Gram Panchayat and state government agencies. So we connected with them, we presented our work, we invited them to these villages. And so that engagement started. And we also developed tools and resources for capacity building and also connected with policymakers at central government, state government. So we did all those things. And that really worked. Some of the them training and they tried to work out the land use practices. So colored these maps with different colors to show different geology of the area, land use of the area. And they started really making sense where my house is, where my farm is, and they could see through the map and like that. And they went to classrooms. They also had training on the field in their village, and they really started feeling that we know more now compared to other people in the villages. So they felt very proud and privileged. So these are some of the photos from working in the field, doing trainings. This is one of beaches marking the one of the wells so that they come every week and monitor the wells. These are the farmers of BJs in a classroom in a university in Udaipur. So some of these BJs said that I happened to be there one day. I just arrived from Sydney there and just wanted to ask them how do they feel. And they said, in our life, we never thought we'll go to a university classroom, but now here we are. So that was a very proud moment. And we had lots of meetings with the villagers, with the women or other people to understand their issues, their point of view, and really became part of them actually. So people from Australia, they are very, very good research scientists from India, Australia. We just sat on the floor, had our meals with them, and develop that sort of relationship. So, for example, few times I went myself and I didn't have my other colleagues from Australia, like Peter and John and Roger. And so, if they are not with me, they will ask why he didn't come, or where is he, or how is he. That's the level of networking relationship developed. And that really started the conversation and dialogue. So, this graph shows the groundwater levels monitored by these BJs in one of the villages. And they started seeing the pattern. So this is how much groundwater varies from month to month, week to week. And that really changed their thinking that the groundwater is a limited resource. And this is how it changes. And this is how we can do better job. And this is for the whole village. So we just plotted the whole year, whole village, and started seeing pattern. So it requires a lot of patience and sort of coaching them. So I give an example. One of the farmers, his name is Hariram. And in the beginning, Hariram got the training and was monitoring every week. And we also had a BJ facilitator called Prahlad. So Prahlad will randomly check how these BJs are monitoring uh, water levels and so on. And he found one day that the reading he got from Hariram, and he also happened to monitor, randomly check that, going physically to the well, that there was a discrepancy in the value Hariram reported to Prahlad. And he just immediately went to him and looks, Hariramji, this is not right. We find quite a bit of difference in reading than what I observed after you took the reading. And Hariram immediately confessed that he actually estimated the value, didn't go to the well and just wrote the value. Um, and then he said, this is not good. We can't have you as a BJ. So, but Hariram said, look, I want to remain with the project and I really want to continue. Then Prahlad said, look, Hariramji, we can't trust you now. It's very hard because we are doing research. And if we get this fake data, that will not be good. So Hariram promised that, oh, let's go to this nearby temple and I take oath that this will not happen. And from that day on, uh, Hariram became a champion of all the BJs. And actually, he made a presentation in the this Bhujal Manthan in 2017, organized by Jal Shakti Ministry, Minister of Water Resources at that time. And Gadkari ji was there, and he made a national level presentation with a big number of people. So this is how things have changed, and other BJs really got inspired. And the farmers monitor, say, check them. We provided them with cameras, so they take the reading, they observe the reading, and also take a photo. And so that we have the time, and if we want to go back, we can check. And what we found was these farmers, they were really, the BJs provided very reliable values. And so we did all the water balance, groundwater balance of the check dams. We plotted graphs, and we published the data collected by farmers in international journals like hydrogeology journal, for example. And so what it tells us that villagers with low education but a lot of life experience can be equally good as researchers. And then we developed this MyWell app because we were collecting data. And so farmers can put, or BGS can put these values, and anyone can, with this app, can see what is the water level, what is the rainfall, and so on. And we are now going through the next revision of this app. And the ultimate idea is to develop this village groundwater cooperatives. So cooperatives means 10, 15 farmers get together and then they form a cooperative and their land is all together. And then they will recharge, they will monitor, and they will share this groundwater together. And so we registered, formalized 3 village groundwater cooperatives or VGCs in Rajasthan, 2 in Gujarat. And we have started the process of framework and how it will work, what they need to do. And in my sort of thinking, this probably is the way to go for managing, sustaining groundwater. So coming to the end of my presentation, so key findings. Groundwater management needs to start at the village level, not at the state level or other levels. I think we start from the grassroots and move upward, and that may be the way. And these villagers or as a BJs can learn how to monitor, they can understand, they can take responsibility to manage their groundwater, and they can become village champions. And the women also need to be involved in this because it affects women and girls, especially the education. And each village is different, although they may be nearby, different, and the groundwater management should be based on the diversity of socio-economic
Hello.
attributes of the farmers
Hello.
and the villages. So the one size fits all
Please
will
call
not help.
tomorrow. I'm in meeting.
And also the groundwater management needs to be transdisciplinary and transdepartmental. So transdisciplinary means not multidisciplinary, but we need to really think more about people and their issues and solution than our own discipline. So I'm a hydrogeologist is not required. This is a tool I use, but my focus is on livelihood of people, well-being of communities, uh, water security. These are the important parts, not my discipline. My discipline is a tool to get there, not the end. And BJs can collect very highly reliable information. So, and BJs should be formally connected with Gram Panchayat so that they are the sort of a connection between village communities, researchers, government, and so really some sort of swaraj means giving ownership of the problem and solution to the people who actually use it. And more information is available on MARVI website. There are lots of publications, so you are most welcome. And so thank you very much for your attention, and hope there was something useful, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for sharing such a vast research experience, sir, with us, sir. And now attendee may uh, ask any question to sir for any clarification, any doubts, please. Anyone can ask. Okay, for more details, you can go through marvi.com. And now I would like to go to Vice Chancellor, sir, and requesting him to share his vast experience related to sustainability of groundwater. Over to VC, sir.
So thank you, Dr. Daniel. Before I start, I like to once again convey my personal thanks to Professor Maheshwari for being with us on this very important day of World Water Day. So I'm very thankful to Professor Maheshwari. I'd like to start. I'm going to speak today on valuing groundwater, keeping in view the fact that the theme of this today's World Water Day is valuing water, and many important points have been covered by Professor Maheshwari. So at the outset, I'm thankful to Honorable President of CSMU, Professor Dr. Kesavadaya, Professor Maheshwari, once again, to you, sir, for being with us. All my colleagues, including the principals of colleges like Dr. Pandey, head of the departments of the different, head of departments like IT department, Dr. Manish, Dr. Daniel, all our star and coordinator of the program, Professor Sharma, R.P. Sharma, and all my colleagues, scholars, students, and ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning to you all. We have just heard very inspiring and motivating lecture by Professor Maheshwari. However, I will dwell on the thematic issue of today, that valuing water, and because of my association with the groundwater bodies and my indulgence in, and my interest in groundwater research, I am going to speak on the groundwater valuation. As all of you know, that in the 20th century, right from mid-50s to late 90s, there have been and still the derivation all over the world is going on how to manage our valuable resource, that is water. Though we all know, if you see this earth from the space, it will appear as a blue, and we call it blue water because of 3/4 of this planet is water. But how much of this water is useful to us? If you consider the total water 100%, only 3% water is fresh water. 97% water is seawater, which is not useful directly to us. So our system, the Earth system, the life and livelihood on this planet is dependent on only 3% of fresh water. And out of the 3%, the bulk is locked in the ice caps. And well, 79% you say is locked in ice cap. 1% is available as a fresh water out of the 3%. 20% is available in the surface as a groundwater. So, groundwater is most dominant resource, most dependable resource, life and livelihood of the planet. As we know, and as I'm talking a lot of deliberation, yes, I'd like to mention here that all the deliberation led to an emergence of Dublin Principle during United Nations Conference on Environment and Development held during the month of June 1992 at Rio de Janeiro. And this Dublin Principle has the 4 basic components. 4 basic tenets of these principles are: first, for the first time, water was declared as a finite resource. For the first time, it was accepted that water is not an infinite resource, it is a finite resource, and essential for sustainable development, sustenance of life, development, and ecosystem on this planet. Second important tenet was a participatory approach was envisaged to manage this resource. Third, women were considered as the main pillar for managing the water resources. And the fourth, but not, and last but not the least important, is that water was considered as economic good. Water was considered to have economic value. It was for the first time. Earlier, people used to think that water is available in plenty, it has no value. For God is giving a lot of water, so it is available in plenty. No. A lot of research led to the conclusion, like that water is a finite resource and it has economic value. And that's why it was considered as the economic good. So very rightly, this year, the water valuing of water has become a theme for discussion all over the globe. If you consider, as I said, that water, I mean groundwater, because groundwater is the most dominant resource. And we know that all over the world, we are facing the challenge of scarcity of water, and that is the scarcity of groundwater. On the other hand, we are becoming more and more dependable on groundwater. Earlier, we used to depend on the surface water, but because of so many factors, including pollution, contamination, drying of wetlands, losing the rivers, perennial rivers becoming ephemeral rivers, all these reasons has caused the sinkage of our surface wetland, surface water system, and our dependency on the groundwater has increased. We look to the groundwater for our sustenance, for life and livelihood. In all the sectors, there are three major user sector of water: agriculture, industry, and domestic sector. Agriculture uses more than 80% of the available water on average. And you will be surprised that India, if you take the top 10 user country of the world, you will find that India is the topmost user, the highest user of groundwater. It is using 250 cubic kilometer of water per year, whereas China and USA, they use only 112 cubic kilometer of water per annum. See the vast difference, where we are stand, how we are, and this is causing a great depletion of our resources, groundwater resources. Our resources becoming scarce. As per the international standard, minimum of 1,000 cubic kilometer of water per annum is required for for life and livelihood activities. But what is the scenario? In major part of the country, our country, we are having less than that. Even some part, we are having less than 300 cubic kilometer of per annum, water. Many river basins are drying, and many, our groundwater resources are depleting very fast. Even almost 20 to 40 millimeter per annum, groundwater depletion is taking place. We are touching the bottom rock, and there will no water. You have seen, might have those who are updating yourself through newspaper and digital media, might have heard and might have come to know that many cities will be without water as per the Niti Aayog. So how to go ahead? We have seen our perception about valuing water is all that. It is social, maybe a social value, maybe economic value, maybe environmental value. How we are going to value our water resources? Idea is to ingrain the philosophy of economics in the mind of the people, so that people are able to understand its value in a proper context. Because this is days of commercialization. We are more and more banking on economic ventures and economic. We are all engaged in here and there some economic activity. We are fastly losing the sight of the social values, environmental values, but we are catching up with the economic value. But people should not forget that water has economic value. It had been already decided long back in 1992. And thereafter only, after this finding only, the United Nations decided in 1992 December to have a World Water Day every year. And thereafter, from 1993 onward, we are having every year World Water Day. So this is very important to work. And what rightly Professor Masud rightly said, that water-related issue is a people-related issue. It is people-related problem. It is a community-related problem. The resources cannot be generated, managed by government. Resources have to be generated, managed, protected, taken care of by the community, by the local community. And that's why I totally agree with Professor Maheshwari that the village level approach, what he has said, the village level cooperative is a wonderful idea, wonderful concept. We also worked in Rajasthan, in Hanumangarh district and Dausa district, and tried to evaluate, try to quantify the water consumption, per capita water consumption. I mean, how much water is needed by a family, how much water is needed by his or her, I mean, in the family's livestock. We all calculated and tried to see how much water resources available in the village and what is, whether it is a surplus or minus. So if there is minus, then how to manage? So the quantification was a step toward that direction, to value. People should understand the value of the water and economic value, because is only value which people will ultimately realize and recognize. And that's why if you go for the valuation, then we need to divide, understand the services rendered by the groundwater. We can divide, we have two types of services which are provided by the groundwater. One is the extractive services and other is the in situ services. Extractive services are exploited, for agriculture purposes, for industrial purposes, commercial purposes, and then this all these local bodies and the groundwater, all the demands raised by this organization, these activities are made by the groundwater. That how? By extracting the groundwater. Groundwater, its greatest merit has become its greatest demerit. Groundwater is found everywhere. It is very, disseminated resource. And that's why everybody is free to pump and install pump. And what Professor Maheshwari said, that is very difficult in a country like India to manage and supervise the pumping. You cannot check the pumping. So what you can do, you can ingrain the philosophy of economics in the mind of the people, mind of the community, so that they should learn to value the water. Therefore, I said that not only the human values are important, but the environmental values are also important. I mean, if you take the economics to the environmental, ecological side, that is also very much important. Because if groundwater is found to support the river, groundwater is found to support the existence of lake, the many rivers flow is maintained by the groundwater contributions. Many, flora and fauna, they are maintained, they are supported by the groundwater flow. So they are valuable. And if you think in terms of economics, I mean, they contribute to the sustenance of life on this planet. You will wonder that how valuable they are. So this valuation has to be done considering their extractive and in situ value. In extractive, I told you, in situ means the value which groundwater occupy being in the aquifer. We need to protect our aquifer. We need to understand our aquifer, because aquifer is the habitat of the groundwater. You cannot find everywhere groundwater. Only suitable habitat, suitable geological formation have the water. So the water, and that is the groundwater. And that is important from many perspectives. They support the ecosystem. They support the flow in the river basin. They support the existence of the wetland on the surface. They support the existence of lake on the surface. They support the greenery on the. That's why the they are also called the green water, because up to 3-meter depth. The plant is supported by the groundwater only through capillary action. So this value need to be understood, and there are many facets and many issues which the groundwater we need to be done, and but to understand the value, if you want to go for the valuation, we need to understand the hydrology, ecology of the groundwater resources. Hydrology, there are many parameters which need to be understood. That, like for example, rainfall, runoff, infiltration, depth to water level, the geological material of the habitat. There are so many scientific parameters for which the sufficient data is required to evaluate the groundwater resources and its services. But unfortunately, we lack in having very correct data of these parameters. We have, but in a very scanty manner. So there should be our effort that we should have the data. A complete, all the scientists and researchers who are working, they should try to generate more and more useful data. And these data are now, we have the artificial intelligence, machine learning techniques to very usefully use the data for predicting the availability of water resources, and then how economically beneficial they may be. We can also predict their value. We can predict the future use, because we have responsibility towards our future. We must save water for future. How we can save unless we value them? Any scarce resource and services have the value. Without no, if you think the demand and supply, any scarcity and scarcity should become more valuable. While water is not considered as a valuable, economically valuable asset. If you take the availability of the water, whatever availability was there during 1950s, we were having more than 5,000 cubic meter per annum per person water available. But now it is less than 1,200. It is the government of India data. So how you see how fast the per capita availability of water is decreasing, where we are heading, unless we try to value them, we will be making the wasteful uses. We will be making, or we will be damaging our environment by discharging wasteful water, wastewater, contaminated water, polluted water. So our problem is on two fronts. Whether one is the depletion of the water resources, groundwater resources, another is the contamination. Contamination, once the aquifer gets contaminated, is very difficult to remediate. It is better to be very cautious while using the aquifer in situ resources and services of the groundwater. So all these factors need to be taken into consideration, and I'm sure with our growing approach, with project like MARVI, we need to diversify the activities of MARVI-like activities, MARVI-like project all over the country, so that people get educated. We must have a civil science approach. We must use our expertise. Scientists, hydrogeologists, ecologists, they should use their expertise to teach, train, make aware the people at the village level about the importance and the value of the water. Then only we can have sustainable management and sustainable use of groundwater, and that is water. With this, thank you very much, my dear friends, and I am very happy that our team led by Dr. Daniel have organized this event in a very effective and efficient manner. And I thank all the listener also that we have already formed a groundwater community forum. This is, and I wish all of you be member of it. It is a WhatsApp group at the present, but likely to turn into a very formal institution very soon, because through community participation, we can enhance the value of the groundwater. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such valuable information with us. Now, participants may ask any question to sir for any clarification. Yes, please. Anyone?
Any question, most welcome, please.
Okay. Now, I would like to go to Dr. Piti ma'am and requesting him for vote of thanks to the panelists and participants. And before going to ma'am, I would like to just announce one announcement. Please, all of you, please fill the feedback form available in the chat box for getting e-certificate. Okay.
Sir, in my chat box, there is no link.
No, I've sent. Okay, I will be sent that. Okay, no problem. Yes, over to Priti ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel, sir. A very good morning to all present here. This is Dr. Preeti Chaudhary from Pharmacy Department. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this memorable occasion of World Water Day. World Water Day is observed annually across the globe on March 22nd with the purpose of highlighting the importance of water and raising awareness about the water crisis that the world faces. According to the United Nations website, the main focus of the day is to support the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal, water sanitation for all by 2030. The theme for this year, World Waters Day, is valuing water, and it has been chosen to highlight the value of water in our daily lives. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. First and foremost, I thank to Dr. Keshav Badaya, sir, the President of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj University and Secretary of St. Wilfrid's Education Society. I'm very much grateful to our President for allowing us to hold this webinar and giving his precious time giving his precious time and suggestions for this event. Sir is also an eminent and learned personality in the field of education. Currently, sir is governing more than 27 reputed organizations. Thank you very much, sir. I also want to express my gratitude to Dr. A.K. Sinha, sir, the Vice Chancellor of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj University, for providing all the facilities for this webinar. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I want to express my heartiest thanks to our guest of the honor and first speaker of the day, Professor Basant Maheshwari, sir, who, despite her busy schedule, has found time to grace this occasion. In today's lecture, sir spoke about the groundwater managing the complexity of the invisible resources. Sir emphasized on MARVI, managing aquifer recharge and sustainable groundwater use through village level intervention. In his topic, sir explained all the things very well. Thank you very much, sir, to give your precious time for this noble cause. We are very fortunate to have you with us today. I owe a special and gratitude, courteous thanks to Dr. A.K. Sinha, sir, the Vice Chancellor of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj University, and the second speaker of the day. Sir has his specialization and experiences in the domain of geology, mining geology, hydrology, environment geology, and research and academic promotion and management. In today's lecture, sir spoke on the topic valuing groundwater towards sustainable development. Thank you so much, sir, to share your blessings on us. I also want to thank to all the distinguished participants present here for accepting our invitation and to grace our today's occasion. I also thank to our registrar, Sir Dr. R.P. Sharma, sir, for his unassisted support for this function. I also want to express my acknowledgement to each and every staff member for their kind support in the arrangement of today's function. Last but not the least, I also thank to all the faculty members for their valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement in all your efforts, and the non-teaching staff also who has worked hard to ensure that this occasion becomes a memorable success. Finally, I leave you all by these inspiring words. Water is a vital for all forms of life and the centerpiece of existence. It is an essential nutrient. If there was no water, there was no be life on the earth. Water is one of the valuable and indispensable resources. It plays a key role in the human body. We can survive up to the several weeks without the food, but only a few days without water. So I would request to all kindly save the water and save the life. Once again, I thank you all for joining us in the celebration of this special day. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all. And you may all
Thank you.
you may leave the meeting.
Thank you. बहुत अच्छा. Good session. Daniel साहब.
Yes, Pandey sir.
बहुत अच्छा सेशन रहा.
Okay.
Thank you और बहुत अच्छा. सर को भी प्रणाम. डीसी सर सुन रहे होंगे. सबको प्रणाम. Thank you सबको. बहुत अच्छा.
Thank you, Maheshwari sir.
और टेक्निकल सेशन वाले में भी लोग भी मनीष सुनीश जी को भी थैंक यू. बड़ा अच्छा ही हुआ. बीच में कोई रुकावट नहीं आई. बहुत बढ़िया रहा. थैंक यू.
Students, please may leave the meeting. Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please take care.
Thank you.
We should now close it because
Yes,
we would
sir.
like to go.